Dear learners, I am Dr. Monica Thakur. Today we will talk on Introduction to Mushrooms. Today we will talk about mushrooms, their life cycle, their benefits, their national and international status on the cultivation patterns, their mushroom nutraceuticals and the mushroom cultivation patterns. Background of the mushrooms. There is a decline in the income generation for farmers in the traditional agriculture system, which requires diversification of the crops. India, being an agriculture country, has abundant lignocellulosic raw material and also gifted with the conditions which are congenial for the cultivation of the mushrooms. Before the era of cultivation and domestication began, the mushrooms were collected and consumed from the wild, and this is known as macrophagy. Few mushroom species are deadly and poisonous too. The local villagers, when they go for the mushroom collection, many times they are confused between the edible mushroom and the poisonous mushrooms. Mushrooms are macrofungi whose sporophores bear spores either on lamellae or gills or on the pores also. Mushroom cultivation is an indoor activity and it is possible to grow mushrooms throughout the year under controlled conditions. Also, they require very small piece of land for the cultivation. Therefore, in the today's scenario where there is limited number of resources, mushroom cultivation can prove a boon to the Indian economy. Now, the objectives of the introduction to mushrooms. First of all, we will explain that what are mushrooms, how many species of mushrooms are there in the world. We will learn that whether mushrooms are plants or animals and how they survive in the nature. Then we will understand the history of mushroom cultivation, the benefits of growing mushrooms to the farmers and to the environment. We will also came to know about the mushrooms as functional food, and at the last we will talk about the basic steps of mushroom cultivation. Now, the most important thing, learners, that what are mushrooms? When we say the word mushroom, many people think of only button mushroom because that is the most common species of the mushroom which is available in the market. This is more so in the West, as the mushroom industry in the UK and other Western countries is nearly 100% dominated by the button mushroom. This sometimes could mislead us, but this is not the only species considered as mushroom. Actually, there are thousands of different species of mushrooms available in the nature, and if you go to different markets, different retail shops, you can find many number of species which are there in the market. Mushrooms do not have chlorophyll, therefore can't produce their own food, and they always depend upon other organisms for the nutrients. Mushrooms do not have chlorophyll, therefore they cannot produce their own food. They are always dependent upon other organisms for their food, like organic material, the dead wood, straw, dead and decomposed matter, manure, cattle dung, etc. Many scientists also confused mushrooms with the plant. Many scientists also include fungi in the plantic kingdom, but there is a lot of difference between the fungal kingdom and the plantic kingdom. Mushrooms or the fungi, they have the cell wall which is different from the plants, and thus they belong to a very separate kingdom known as mycota. Now, learners, we will talk about how many species of mushroom exist in the nature. Fungi are the second largest group of organism after insects. We know only about some of these. According to an survey, an estimate, there is about 15 lakh of the fungi which are available in the world. However, we have not been able to study all the mushrooms which are available. Scientists have studied only 1.1 lakh fungi, out of which 14,000 are considered as the mushroom. All mushrooms are not edible, some are even poisonous too. So, when we collect the mushrooms from the wild, many of them are poisonous also. Out of these, only 3,000 have been considered to be truly edible. However, it is not possible to cultivate all the mushrooms which are available in the wild. Despite all the efforts, we succeeded to cultivate only 200 species experimentally, and out of which 60 to 70 mushrooms are cultivated commercially and about 10 are cultivated on the industrial scale. The diagram explains that 14,000 mushrooms are available in the nature, out of which 3,000 are edible. Again, it is a very surprising data that only 10 mushroom species are cultivated on the industrial scale. Dear learners, now we will talk about mushrooms, how they survive in the nature, because in the previous slide we talk about their parasitic nature, and mushrooms, they always require nutrients from the other organisms. Mushrooms are the fruiting bodies of the fungi, but major part of the life cycle of the mushroom is in the form of microscopic thread-like structures in the soil, in the wood and other resources. These microscopic threads are known as mycelium, and we will be very surprised that 1 cubic centimeter of soil can have 13 kilometer long mycelium. These threads unite to form small structures, pinhead structures that grow into the mushroom. These fruiting bodies produce spore that help in the spread of the fungus. We might have seen black spots on the old bread pieces. These are nothing but the spores of fungi. Many times we have also observed colorful spots on the different food articles like on the orange, on the many vegetables, etc. So, these are the spores of the fungi only. Now learners, the most important part of the mushroom fruiting body, the life cycle. The mature mushroom will have the 3 different parts, the cap, the stalk and the mycelium. The gills releases million of spores in the environment, and these spores have been drifted with the help of air. When these spores are available in the environment, they always require a base medium. When they require a base medium, they always settle on the soil. From that medium, they will get some nutrition and they grow into the hyphae. When the 2 different type of hyphae combine together, they form a mycelium. And in the previous slide, we have also talked about the length of the mycelium. When these mycelium combine together, they form a full-fledged fruiting body. Again, the cycle will be repeated in the environment because this full-fledged fruiting body in its reproductive stage again going to release some spores. These spores will again be available in the environment, then they will be converted into the hyphae, hyphae into the mycelium and the mycelium into the fruiting body. So, let us talk about the history of mushroom cultivation and its present status. Mushrooms like wood ear, winter mushroom, shiitake mushroom were cultivated in China on wood logs more than 1000 years ago, while the button mushroom, which is the most consumed one, was cultivated in France about 4 centuries ago. But the scientific cultivation of the mushroom started in the beginning of 20th century, and in the initial years button mushroom was the most commonly cultivated mushroom. Subsequently, number of other mushrooms were brought under cultivation. In 1960s, when mushroom production was low, white button mushroom cultivation was about 80% of the world mushroom production. Shiitake contributed 15% and other was only 5%. But again a very surprising data, mostly the production was there for the button mushroom. Now we will talk about the relative contribution of different mushroom species in the world mushroom production. Majorly 6 mushroom species dominate the mushroom cultivation, in which Lentinula is 22%, Pleurotus 19%, Auricularia 18%, Flammulina 11%, Agaricus 15% and Volvirella 5%. Only 10% is given to the other mushroom species like other different varieties. After discussing the international status of the mushroom cultivation, we will talk about Indian status. In India, we cultivate mainly 4 types of mushrooms: Agaricus, the button mushroom; Calucybee, the milky mushroom; Pleurotus, the oyster mushroom; and Volvirella, the paddy straw mushroom. Repeat, in India, we cultivate mainly 4 types of mushrooms: Agaricus, the button mushroom; Calucybee, the milky mushroom; Pleurotus, the oyster mushroom; and Volvirella, the paddy straw mushroom. Morels are still collected from the forest and we have yet not succeeded in their cultivation, and still this species is known as enigmatic one. Morels are still collected from the forest, we have yet not succeeded in their cultivation. These enigmatic species have enormous functional potential but still available in the wild. We will be very surprised to know that when the snow had started melting and there is thundering and lightning, the morel fruiting body appears in the nature. The villagers from the cold desert areas, they collected the mushrooms from the wild and they fetch a very good price in the market from the morels. Now we will discuss about the contribution of different mushroom species in the total mushroom production in India. Dear learners, the pie diagram explains that button mushroom is the most cultivated and the most consumed mushroom species. It occupies 73% of the total production. The next one is the oyster mushroom, which occupies 16%. Next is Volvirella, which is only 8%, and the last one is the milky mushroom. Now the major areas in the cultivation of different mushroom species in India. If we talk about the national status, the button mushroom grows at 16 to 18 degrees Celsius temperature and it occupies the northern part of India and the Pune belt also. The milky mushroom occupies the southern part of the India. The paddy straw mushroom, which thrives at 30 to 38 degrees Celsius temperature, it is available in the Odisha region. And the last one, the oyster mushroom, which flourishes from 15 to 30 degrees Celsius temperature, is in the east part of the India. Now again a very important question is there, why to grow mushrooms? In the 19th century, we produced the food only for our survival. In the last century, we produced adequate foods in many parts of the world and convenience was the most important area. For example, we talk about the ready to cook food article, ready to eat food articles, and they were very commonly available in the Indian market also. The 21st century is going to be a century of the functional food, that is the food that not only provides nutrition but also have functional bioactive components which are beneficial for our health. And mushrooms fit into this category very well because there is one category which is known as mushroom nutraceuticals or myconutraceutical. A lot of work is also going on this field. Mushrooms are not only a quality food but also a way of utilizing agricultural waste and generating wealth from the waste. The material left after growing mushrooms, commonly referred as spent mushroom substrate, that is SMS, and can be processed into the manure. Thus, mushroom cultivation is an important method to promote sustainable manure based farming. Addition of spent mushroom substrate SMS is also reported to improve the soil health. The very fact that mushroom can be cultivated on paddy straw and number of other agricultural waste, many of which are just burnt, is sufficient reason to grow mushrooms. By growing mushroom, we are not only producing a quality food but also creating a healthy environment. Therefore, mushrooms are very important for the human beings and for our environment too. More importantly, it leads to employment generation and women empowerment. With increasing population, the land is shrinking and mushroom cultivation utilizes vertical space and requires minimal land, making it possible to promote mushrooms in the peri-urban and the urban areas. Mushrooms are considered to be the highest protein producers per unit area per unit time. So learners, we have discussed about the life cycle of mushroom, the cultivation patterns of the mushroom, the consumption pattern of the mushroom. Now we will talk about why to eat mushrooms. So basically mushrooms are best vegetarian food available. They are rich in protein. All the 9 essential amino acids are present in the mushroom with a high digestibility. Mushrooms are having a very good nutraceutical potential. They are having anti-inflammatory and immunomodulatory properties, anti-tumoral properties, antimicrobial potential, antioxidant potential, hepatoprotective agents, and they also show anti-HIV and antiviral activities also. The most important thing about mushroom is they are very good source of prebiotics also. Now many food industries and the food scientists, they talk about the probiotics, but we will be very surprised again that for the stability of probiotics we always require a prebiotic. There has to be a combination of probiotics and a prebiotics, and with this combination a synbiotic is formed. So therefore mushrooms are also required for the production of synbiotics. Now learners, we will discuss about the characteristics of mushroom and their respective health benefits. Mushroom is a high quality protein which will combat malnutrition. Mushrooms, they are rich in low sodium and they are having high potassium content, therefore they help in controlling the hypertension. Mushroom don't have any starch and they are low in sugars, therefore they are the delights for the diabetic patient. Mushroom doesn't have any cholesterol, so they are healthy for the heart. Mushrooms are rich in fiber, therefore they improves the digestion. Mushrooms are also having a very good concentration of vitamin D, which is very important for the body. Nowadays Indians are having a deficiency of vitamin D, therefore if you want to cure that thing, we should also consume mushrooms. They are also rich in folic acid, vitamin B and minerals, which is going to improve the health of the consumers. These fruiting bodies are also rich in ascorbic acid and carotenoids, therefore they are having a very good antioxidant potential. Mushroom is a low caloric food which reduces the obesity. Again, a very important function of the mushroom that they are rich in selenium, which is having a anti-cancerous and anti-aging properties. The fruiting bodies are also rich in beta glucan and terpenes, which improves the immunity and they are required for the healthy functioning of the liver. Now again, a very important section of the mushroom, that is about the medicinal mushrooms. The medicinal mushrooms has emerged a new field of nutraceuticals known as myconutraceuticals or mushroom nutraceutical. Now learners will talk about a different aspect of mushrooms as myconutraceuticals. The medicinal mushrooms has emerged a new field of nutraceuticals as mushroom nutraceuticals or myconutraceuticals in the last 2 decades. And it is very interesting that most of the cultivated and wild edible mushrooms have been proven to be medicinally useful. The concept of nutraceutical has emerged from the awareness of relationship between diet and disease. So, the scientists who are working in the field of nutraceutical, they always claim that there has to be a relationship between the diet and the disease. Some of the medicinal mushroom on which research is going on in different parts of the world, including the clinical trials, are Lentinus edodes, Gryphola frondosa, Schizophyllum commune, Ganoderma lucidum, Trametes versicolor, Flammellina velutypes, Cordyceps sinensis and Morchella species, etc. The most popular medicinal mushroom is Ganoderma and is also known as the king of herbal medicines. Lot of work is also going on 2 different mushrooms, the Cordyceps sinensis and the Morchella species. But the only problem with Morchella species is they are only available in the wild. Now learners will talk about the mushroom cultivation. We have already discussed the life cycle of mushroom, the health benefits of the mushroom, the myconutraceuticals, the cultivation trials of mushroom and even the cultivation status of the mushroom, both national and international. Therefore, now it is very important to talk on the cultivation pattern of the mushroom species. Mushroom cultivation is both a science and an art. It is a combination of the science and the technology. It requires proper technical guidance and training. All the sections of the society, unskilled people, old people and even the women can very easily cultivate these mushrooms at the home level also. The major practical steps for the cultivation are: the first step is selection of the acceptable mushroom species. Then the second one is identification of species. Now the next step is identification of species, which again is a very important step. After that, a dedicated room or building wherein temperature, moisture and sanitary conditions with other extrinsic factors can be controlled. After that, securing a good quality spawn or mushroom culture is also important. Then there is development and multiplication of the healthy spawn. After that, there is preparation of selective substrate or compost. Then we have to take care of the spawn. Now the next step is management of the fruiting bodies or the mushroom development. And the last but not the least, the harvesting, the processing, packaging and selling of the mushrooms carefully. So in the previous slide we discussed about the basic steps of mushroom cultivation as spawn, substrate and the cropping. So these are the 3 important steps while cultivating the mushroom we have to work on. Dear learners, it is very rightly said that mushroom cultivation brings non-green revolution, which not only creates diversification in agriculture system but also is among the more secure way to help in addressing the problems of agriculture waste, quality food, empowerment of women and tackle the health related issues as well. Thank you all. Thank you for being a part of this course.